Andy, what does a realistic offseason look like for the Mets? So much talk about bring Pete back, bring Diaz back, add more. Is it realistic to expect that the Mets could bring Diaz and Alonso back and go get, let's say, a top starter?
I think the main thing to remember, the primary thing to keep in mind, Sal, about the Mets offseason and their goals is urgency to get back into the playoffs and to be that team, that franchise on the ascent that they've been in the Steve Cohen era. And it seemed like it was going to a whole other level in 24 and then signing Soto. So whatever they think it's going to take to get themselves back to that level, they're going to be ambitious and aggressive to get there. Now, so if they decide, if David Stearns and his people that Cohen trusts to make these decisions decide that we should be paying for a Diaz and Alonso and then trading for whether it's Tarek Skubal or whether it's a Freddie Peralta, a guy that they know, the front office knows from Milwaukee, their time there, they're going to do that. But it's anything's realistic. They have the resources, they have the ambition, but all these decisions are going to be approached in isolation, and the Mets are currently trying to figure out where they stand on things like, which is normal for this time of year. Where do you stand on Alonso? Where do you stand on Diaz? How far do you stretch for these guys? So it's too soon to say they're going to do A, B, C, and D because they haven't decided yet, but there's no limit on their desire to get this thing back on track. I can say that.
Yeah, there shouldn't be a limit. The thing that stands out about what you're saying is the pitching, right? Obviously, Pete, and I've said this, it would be a mistake to not bring Pete Alonso back. I think he's that important to this franchise and offensively, but it's the pitching, it's the run prevention, right? That's where the energy should be spent. All we've done this offseason is talk about their run prevention, right? 18th in ERA for the starters. They walked the second most batters per 9. They had a high ground ball percentage, but their defense was weak. Like, all of these things adding up, they were 20th in strikeouts. Like, it wasn't a good starting staff. We saw them crumble at the end of the year. They got off to a great start.
Who are you getting, Danny? Who are you getting?
I got my eyes on a lot of different guys. Yes, I told you I liked Ranger Suarez. I like Freddie Peralta, but I like Ranger Suarez more. I don't think Tarek Skubal is leaving the Tigers. I think he's going to go back to this. I don't think he's leaving the Tigers. They're going to do everything in their power to get that guy back. I know that makes you sad. I know he's your new Soto, but but no, I don't think that they can. I think that there's some good names out there, but for me, like, my eyes on the prize are starting pitchers and making sure my team can prevent runs in 2026.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the tricky part for me is if you bring back Alonso and Diaz, you're not really any better than you were last year. So now, how do you get better? Because you're already spending a lot of money. But in that case, then it's up to Cohen, I think, especially how much he's willing to extend. Because I'm with you, Danny. You got to go get at least one top of the rotation starter. Suarez isn't quite. I mean, I like him a lot, and I'm not worried about his velocity. I know a lot of people are worried. He knows how to pitch. He's got great off-speed stuff, soft contact, all that. I like him. I would try. I've mentioned this before. I wrote about it. Joe Ryan is a possibility. He's another guy with a lot of ascending possibilities still. But they need a couple of those guys. And then, I mean, maybe the offense gets better with Carson Bench and Jet Williams that come along at some point this year. But I wouldn't be opposed to adding the bat as well either. So there's a lot to do if you're really going to get better. I mean,
yeah. What about the defense? Upgrading the defense. That's a factor as well. That's why I started by saying what's realistic, because to your point, hard to justify losing Alonso's offensive numbers and losing Diaz or one or the other and saying that they're getting better. While we know they need to kind of bring those guys back, or at the very least replace them in a big way, in addition to adding at least 2 top starters. But I like your word. There are no limitations to what this team can do.
No, I mean, the only thing to keep in mind in terms of longer-term commitments is that I hate to be Debbie Downer on this one, but it's a real factor that teams don't, especially teams with high payrolls like the Mets, Yankees, and Dodgers, don't know how much to commit long-term to players because they don't know if there's going to be a cap and floor system after the 27 season and what the rules are going to be, and the money that you already committed going to count toward those things. So I think you are going to see the highest payroll teams try to manage that a little bit with long-term commitments. So it's kind of a bad time in that sense to be trying to get better. That's one complication.